We are still at the PMI Global Congress 2013 here in New Orleans, and I am sitting here at the PMI bookstore with Stephen Townsend from PMI. Hello, Stephen.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here, Cornelius.
Now, what is your role with PMI?
I am PMI's Director for Global Alliances and Networks, which means I'm responsible for our Registered Education Provider program, a Registered Consultant program, and our alliances with other organizations, whether they're other professional societies, corporations, government, or academic institutions.
And what is your role when it comes to the practice guide in change management? Because that's the topic of our interview here.
The Practice Guide in Change Management was developed as part of PMI's overall program to help organizations improve their ability to successfully drive their strategies through projects, programs, and portfolios. And change management is one of the critical elements of that. So my team helps to organize all of our internal resources as well as our external relationships to help drive different activities related to change management. So the Practice Guide is one of those elements. We also have educational programs that we conduct and we conduct with partners. We also have a series of white papers that are available that focus on different elements of change management. We are expanding our portfolio of e-learning and live learning courses in that area as well. So my team helps to coordinate all of those activities across our organization and with our external partners.
On the flight here, I was reading The Pulse of the Profession. Would that also fall under you?
That is actually a part of our brand group and our thought leadership program under the brand group. But the Pulse of the Profession is a driving force behind our program in change management, because it was through the Pulse of the Profession that we identified that change management was one of the critical areas that organizations were struggling to do successfully. And so it was through that research that we decided we needed to have a committed focus to help the Institute build its resources and capabilities to help both practitioners and their organizations more successfully implement change management.
Who's the audience of the guide?
The audience actually is the executive leadership within the organization, because the first chapters really speak to the challenges that they have. The fact that they're operating in dynamic environments, the fact that they are attempting to innovate their organizations, and they're struggling to do that effectively, and the fact that they're struggling to do more with less. So all of those factors tie directly back to change management. So the first section of the practice guide actually speaks to these are the strategic challenges that you as executive leaders face. The next several chapters of the practice guide then focus on this is how your organization can build its capabilities at the portfolio, program, and project levels to more effectively utilize change management practices to support driving the strategic goals and objectives that you're trying to reach and the benefits that you're trying to realize.
All right, let's take a step back and bring everyone on the same page. What is change management?
Well, change management ultimately is attempting to move from the current state to the future state. And the way in which you do that is through a very dynamic, repetitive, iterative process. So, for example, if I want to attempt to change the culture of my organization, one of the things that we have to do is we have to look at the behaviors that we want to see within the organization, and then we have to mirror those behaviors, and we have to communicate about why those behaviors are important. And periodically we have to go back and remind ourselves we're either demonstrating the behaviors that we intend to demonstrate or we're not. So we have to go back to square one and say we need to consistently demonstrate these behaviors. So that's the iterative process. And ultimately you end up at the future state. The state is those behaviors then become ingrained in the organization's culture in a way that you no longer have to build that capability. People just do it inherently because that's how we do things here within the organization. So that's really what change management is. Take us from a current state to a future state, and you do that through a repetitive process until what you're trying to achieve is really ingrained in how the organization does business. And that's the same for projects and programs as well. Project and program management is about change, because ultimately you are taking something that doesn't exist and creating it and delivering it back to the organization in a way in which they can deliver it to their customers. And so you're not only delivering that project or that program, but you're delivering the benefit, you're delivering the value back to the particular customers. And so that is the end state that you're trying to achieve, the benefits realization. But the way you do that is iteratively through your projects and programs and looking at that strategically at the portfolio level.
All right, let's open up the practice guide. And the first thing I notice, I have it here on my iPad, it's 141 pages long. Am I supposed to read it?
It is really intended to be a reference guide to help support the content that's currently in PMI's foundational standards. So actually, the point that you raise is very on target. It is designed and structured in a way that if you are a portfolio manager, you can look at the portfolio management content and see its direct alignment back to the standard for portfolio management. If you're a project manager, you can reference it and you can see the direct connections between the practice guide chapter on project management and the PMBOK guides chapters related to stakeholder engagement, communications, resource management, scope, etc. So it is intended to be a reference guide to support project and program managers and portfolio managers in better focusing on what are the change elements at the domain at which I'm operating, whether that's project, program, or portfolio.
All right. We agreed that during this interview we were going to open it up and take a look at 3 chapters, and that you would give us the 10,000-foot overview of change management at the portfolio level, the program level, and the project level. And then those listeners more interested in any particular topic, they can open up the practice guide and read the details for themselves. So let's begin at the portfolio. What's important in regards to change management here?
Change management at the portfolio level is really that linkage between the organization strategy and where the organization invests its resources in the portfolio of projects and programs to realize that strategy. And change management is critical at that level because as the organization is impacted by the external environment, or as changes occur within the organization, it's really the portfolio manager who has to cascade that down to the projects and programs that the organization has invested in. So to give you a good example, if the organization is moving forward on a particular program and a new technology emerges that could accelerate development of that program, the portfolio manager is the one who scans the environment and looks at how can we leverage that to accelerate the development and the benefits that we're trying to achieve from the program. At the same time, they have to protect the organization against issues that could negatively impact the initiatives that the organization is pursuing. So if a new government regulation surfaces that could impact negatively what the organization is trying to accomplish, it's the portfolio manager who engages the leadership in a strategic dialogue about, is it the right time for this particular set of projects or programs? Do we want to proceed knowing what the potential risks are? And so it's the portfolio manager who can make the adjustment to the overall investments that the organization is making in the projects and the programs, keeping it linked to the strategy. So the portfolio manager is the critical link between the strategy and the projects and programs that are being executed to realize that strategy.
All right, we're moving one level down, so to speak, to the programs. What's the high level here?
The high level at the program level is all programs are about change. When a program starts, often it starts with very ambiguous criteria. In essence, you're trying to engineer someone's dream, and it's a dream that they can't necessarily articulate at the time that you initiate the program. You kind of have a view of the end state. And so at the program level, it's the program manager's responsibility to look at how they can leverage change to adapt the program to achieve that end state. So for example, if you look at the development of the new Airbus or the new Boeing 787, both organizations had a dream, and the dream was we need a plane that is more fuel efficient, that is more adaptive to our customers, and that better enables all of the features, all the safety features that are going to improve the passengers' experience and their safety on the flight. And so that was the initial dream. Let's build that. And one of the things that they built into that was they recognized that technology was evolving so that they would be able to utilize batteries as a power source. And those batteries help to reduce the fuel that the plane has to use in order to fly. It also helps to enable all of the onboard technologies that the plane has, so that passengers can watch their video and they can recharge their iPhone and they can work on their computer all at the same time. So it has dual benefits. It allows passengers to enable all the things that they want to do on the plane, but it also helps to reduce the fuel efficiency. But at the time that they started the program, the technology wasn't developed at a point that they could fully utilize it. But they knew that something was going to happen along the way, that they would be able to incorporate that technology into the aircraft. So they continued to design it, they continued to build it, they continued to network with the suppliers, and ultimately when they were ready to commercially develop the aircraft, they actually did have the prototypes designed in a way that would enable them to achieve what they were trying to achieve. So they had that vision, they had that view, and they leveraged change, recognizing that we don't have what we need now, but we see it coming down the pike, so that when it was ready, they were able to leverage it to drive the program to achieve the benefits.
All right. We're going one step down to the project level. What does change management look like at the project level?
Well, unlike the program level, where the organization really utilizes change to adapt the program to achieve the benefit, at the project level, the project manager is really focused on how can I constrain change within my project. So I don't want my scope expanding from where it is now to something that I ultimately can't deliver effectively. The other element of change management within the project environment is related to the transition back into of the deliverable of the project back into the organization. That's also a factor within the program context. As the projects end, how do those projects get transitioned back into the overall program and business operations of the organization? So at the project level, there's that dual connection to individual projects and projects connected back to programs. So oftentimes, projects may actually be successful in that they deliver the end state that they were expected to deliver. So I'm supposed to deliver a new technology. I've delivered that new technology. But where the project often fails is that the people who are supposed to use that technology weren't prepared to use it. So when the project ends and it incorporates back into the organization, the people within the organization aren't able to use it in the way that it was intended. So the organization cannot achieve the business benefit that was intended from that particular project. So the element of change management in the context of project management is how do you build into your project plan all of those steps and pieces that are necessary to make sure that at the end of the project, when those deliverables, when the lessons learned come back into the organization, that they are incorporated in a way that the organization can embrace the change that results.
Earlier on, I said that I have it on my iPad, but for our listeners, where can they get a copy of the guide?
They can download a copy from PMI.org. The address is www.pmi.org/change management. And in addition to the guide, the practice guide on managing change in organizations, there are also other resources available on that page. So they'll be able to find white papers on different aspects of change management. As a matter of fact, we're preparing to release one in the next few weeks focused on the role of the executive sponsor. So in the practice guide, we talk about the importance of executive sponsorship, but in the white paper, we're going to go into much more detail about what specifically does your executive sponsor need to do at each phase of the project, because their role doesn't just begin in helping to initiate or charter the project, and then when the project fails or ends, they come in and either take credit for the team's success, or they give the team a hard time because they didn't achieve the benefit. The sponsor actually has specific activities they need to do at the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing phase. So we're providing additional resources that further supplement the content in the guide to help people who are looking at specific challenges related to topics that we could not delve into as deeply in the guide.
And one more thing we have to say is that at the time of this recording here, the practice guide is available for free for download. So hurry, get your copy as quickly as you can. I do not know for how long it will be up there for free.
Approximately till the 20th of November.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you're listening to this in the future, then we're sorry. It's no longer free.
Yes.
Very well. Why is change management important to organizations?
Well, again, what we find in our research when we ask organizations about their agility and adaptability to change in the environment, there is a strong connection between change management, risk management, and the ability to achieve strategy. When we ask organizations in the Pulse of the Profession research, where are some of the areas where you struggle? Change management and risk management come up fairly high in terms of things that the organizations say that they don't do well, but that can impact the success of their programs. Now, what we also find in that research is that organizations that report that they are more agile and adaptive actually have higher performance related to change and risk management. So from an organizational perspective, we've identified that this is an area where organizations are struggling. And if you look at other research that has been done, CEOs will constantly identify that strategy execution is one of the biggest challenges that they have. And often making that linkage between the strategy, the portfolio, and then the projects and programs under that, and managing it as a dynamic set of activities as opposed to we've got this project over here, we've got this project over here, but keeping that big picture view of we're moving our strategy forward through these investments, that is something that is beneficial to CEOs as well. So the practice guide was really designed to deliver that message to CEOs. We hear you, we understand that you're struggling in this area, and here's your role in helping to create that dynamic linkage between your strategy, your portfolio of projects and programs, and at the same time, we're helping your practitioners be more effective in their practice.
All right. My final two questions for you are aimed at translating the information from within the guide and helping our listeners to get it implemented in their organization. So first one is personally for you. What is your number one takeaway?
The number one takeaway, and the sessions here at the Congress have actually been very enlightening because they've reinforced the direction that we took with the practice guide. We've had a conversation about whether change management is a separate role from project management. And it's been interesting because we didn't say anything about that in the course of the presentations. But the community itself has said, no, our role is that of a change leader. Projects and programs are about change, and it's our responsibility and our project team's responsibility to make sure that that change happens in a way that the organization can leverage it to achieve that desired state and achieve the desired business benefits. So it's not something that we raised. The community actually reacted to it and said, that's our role as project and program managers. So we need to embrace the change. So for me, that was the biggest takeaway, that without even trying to validate it, we validated the fact that this community is a community of change leaders.
Okay. And finally, what is the one thing that our listeners should start using on their projects tomorrow to implement change management, and how do they do it?
Well, going back to the Pulse of the Profession, we recently did the in-depth study on communications, and I cannot emphasize enough that regardless of the level at which you are practicing change management, communications is absolutely critical. So that's communication between the project team and the executive sponsor so that the executive sponsor can effectively support the project team in trying to achieve what it's focused on, what it has been charged with. That makes sure that the executive sponsor has skin in the game and ownership of that strategic initiative, but it also ensures that that executive sponsor has the information that they need to effectively help the team overcome barriers that they face. The other side of that is that communication is important within the project team itself. And with other business units within the organization. Because again, the project team has to make sure that at the end of that project, not only has the project team performed, so that everybody knows what they're doing, so that everybody is contributing in the way that they need to, but they need to make sure that the business is ready to absorb those outputs of the project and the program. So communication within the team and throughout the organization is absolutely critical for success. And those are things that project management and program management community can start doing right now.
Once again, the URL where you can download the practice guide is pmi.org/change management. And if you do it before November 20th, it was 2013, you can get a free copy. Stephen, thank you very much for having been here.
Thank you again, Cornelius. I appreciate the opportunity.